I was watching this video earlier today. It's a video about a CIA Black Ops agent. So it's pretty cool, it's pretty neat. I just randomly found it. It's some super chill looking guy. You know, he looks like you can find him in a library or something like that. But he was like low-key like a CIA Black Ops agent, bro. And I was watching a bit of the video and I'm like, nah, this shit's cool. I kind of want to watch it with everyone. So yeah, we're gonna watch a video about a CIA agent. Let's check it out.
It's John Kiriakou. I was a field agent for the CIA. I hunted, tracked, and captured terrorists around the world. This is everything I'm authorized to tell you. I'm not
authorized, meaning if he tells you anything that's not authorized, bro, you know what they're gonna do, right? Immediately, it's gonna be. No, it's gonna be a warning shot first. If he's gonna say a single word, yeah, bro. CIA agents, bro, you can't release classified information. That's kind of cool, though. I like to be a CIA agent.
not allowed to say how many officers or what percentage of CIA officers are dedicated to counterterrorism. After 9/11, the CIA became a paramilitary organization. We started borrowing special forces guys. They would be on loan to the CIA to just fly somewhere, kill somebody, and then fly back for the next Tuesday meeting.
That's crazy. Sure.
The most obvious risk of working as a counterterrorism officer.
Can you imagine that, yo? You go, you fly out to like, I don't know, like fucking, like Japan, fucking Russia, Afghanistan, wherever. You just fly across the world everywhere, bro. Just one random weekend, you know, you leave, it's like Christmas, you know, you spend time with your family. You're like, yeah, little Johnny, yeah, you throw him in the sky, hold him up. And then, you know, you just be like, yeah, Christmas is done. I'm gonna go on a business trip, guys. I want to go on like a librarian trip to go collect some books because I'm a librarian hunter and an archaeologist. And he just goes, travels, boards a plane. This guy gets to his destination. He lands there in the area. The second he comes off a plane, some guy greets him, and they brings him to like some secret location, bro. He has to like be blindfolded and shit when he's going there, so he can't like retrace the location. He finally gets to the location, opens his eyes, and it's like, damn, bro, you see like a sniper there, a katana there, some rifles, some automatics, rocket launcher, grenades, flamethrowers, stun grenades, flash bombs, everything. And he's just like, damn, bro, it's time to get to business. And then he just assassinates someone, comes back home the next day. Damn. It's like, yeah, nothing ever happened. You know, I just went on a library trip. It's crazy.
Obviously is the risk of death. There were two guys who I worked with in CTC, the Counterterrorism Center, Helga Bose and Mike Spann, who were killed in the line of duty. And it wasn't just them. I was the chief of the counterintelligence branch in the Osama bin Laden group. The woman that I sat next to was killed in the line of duty in the Khost bombing in Afghanistan. The suicide bomber, he blew her and 6 of our colleagues up. So death, destruction.
Bro, suicide bomber, bro. That means, I'm assuming it was one bomber and he took out like 6 of his colleagues. It's a fair trade, you know, resource-wise, like if this was StarCraft, but like, damn, that's fucked up.
But on an equally personal note, your marriage is probably not going to survive an operational tour in the Directorate of Intelligence. The stress is just...
Of course. I love StarCraft, bro. I'm going to get back into StarCraft. I love StarCraft. What's up? How you doing?
It's the most difficult and dangerous thing you can do as a CIA officer.
Say sorry to play StarCraft right now. Oh my gosh, yo, one day we have to play with each other. That's crazy.
Variety of reasons. First, when people join terrorist groups, they do that because they are true believers. And in most cases, they hate you.
Bro, saved 50 minerals, took out like 200 of my opponents with minerals. That's fucked up.
And so they are very happy to die for a cause. At the same time, if you're working counterterrorism issues, you generally aren't doing it in London or Paris or Ottawa. You're doing it in Yemen, Somalia, Afghanistan, Pakistan. In Pakistan, unless you were going to carry out an operational act,
Positive, excellent.
you had to stay on the compound. It was just simply too dangerous. And so not only do you have this exceedingly difficult job to do,
bailing bust on the workers. Oh my gosh, yo, the worst. That's the best trade you could get.
but you have to blend in and not attract attention to yourself and keep yourself safe at the same time. I'll give you an example. When I was stationed in Athens, Athens was one of the most dangerous places in the world for Americans, especially for American CIA officers. 17 November had murdered
Athens.
the CIA station chief, 2 U.S. defense attachés,
I heard of that
and a
place.
hapless Air Force technical sergeant. This was a very, very lethal group. And so that was my primary
I know, right?
job, to
I love
work
StarCraft,
against
man.
an incredibly deadly group. And I was the go-to guy on Arab terrorism there because I spoke Arabic. And I drove
so
an armored car, level
Yemen,
4
you
armor.
said?
I carried 2 guns. I had a Glock 9mm on my waist and a
Need more
Smith & Wesson
minerals.
38 on my ankle.
I
Even
know, the
kept a buck
coincidence.
knife in my back
Bro,
pocket just in case
Taking his arsenal, bro. He's walking around with all of this. Sorry.
everything turned to shit, and that's all I had left. Halfway through my tour,
He's walking
the
with
British
like a whole.
Embassy received
whole
a new
arsenal with
defense
him.
attaché. His name was Stephen Saunders. He was a 1-star general, brigadier general. Everybody loved him. Everybody liked to be around him, the life of the party. He loved being on camera. So anytime you're at some event and there's a camera, Stephen would run up to the camera and give an interview, which is, great if you're not in a country that's categorized
Hypershot, no
as
hit run.
critical threat for terrorism. I took delivery of this new BMW 540, fully armored. And so we were at a cocktail party the day that I got.
So wait, he took a fully armored thing just to go to a party, like a meeting. Hold on.
Got the car. And I was standing there
Oh
with
yeah,
Steven.
and yeah, I do play co-op. I used to love playing 2 versus 2 in StarCraft. Like you're talking about 2 versus 2. I love that. I play a lot of 1 versus 1. And yeah, I want to beat the campaign one day. That was on my bucket list.
540, fully armored. And so we were at a
Terran.
cocktail party. The
Wait.
fully, Steven would run up to the camera and give an interview, which is, great if you're not in a country that's categorized as
Who do you
critical
use?
threat for terrorism. I took delivery of this new BMW 540, fully armored. And so we were at a cocktail party the day that I got the car. And I was standing there with Steven. He was making fun of me, and he says, "You Americans, you're so obsessed with security. It's a NATO country. What are you so afraid of?" And they all chuckled.
Interesting.
And I said, "You Brits live in a dream world. If you think because they have palm trees and pretty beaches that they're not going to kill you if they have the chance." And we all laughed again.
That I just realized, I didn't know. Like, I know NATO is like a combination of a whole bunch of like different like nations and countries and stuff like that. But like, I didn't know the CIA like functions under NATO. Like, what he basically said was like the CIA like is like within NATO. Like, they're a government, I don't know, like thingy. But I thought the CIA only functions as like an American unit thing. That's actually, I want to know that. Let me look that up. Is the CIA, what countries comprise of the CIA? Oh, it is the United States of America. So he said the British people. So I'm assuming that probably just like random British people are there. It says the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, is not comprised of multiple countries. It's a foreign intelligence service solely of the USA. It is an independent agency within the USA intelligence community, responsible for providing national security intelligence to senior USA policymakers. Now I know. I don't know. His words kind of misled me when he talked about British people. Yeah, I'll definitely refund your points soon. And bro, nice completing the campaign. There's multiple campaigns. Did you complete all of them, like Terran Protoss and Zergs. And yeah, I use Terran. Terran's like my go-to. Like I've been using Terran since StarCraft Brood War. I dabble with other characters here and there, but like I have like a grasp of Terran. You know, like I don't have a full grasp of like Zergs and Protoss. Like I know how to use them, I know how to build a bit with Protoss. But yeah, Terran's my go-to. I love Terran. Yeah, bro, I love StarCraft. Bro, I grew up playing StarCraft Brood War. Like, I was playing StarCraft Brood War in kindergarten, bro. Like, actually. Like, I was actually, like, really young playing StarCraft. That was one of the first games, like, I grew up playing. I played StarCraft Brood War, like, straight up from, like, kindergarten up to, like, grade, since I got old, like, actually. Like, I stopped playing after StarCraft 2 came out. I started off maining Zergs, but you gotta learn and adapt to other races. You main everything? Nice. I need to be like you.
And then
I'm a one trick, bro.
a couple of weeks later, I made a mistake that I had never made before. I slept through my alarm. I had to just get on the main road and go straight.
Oh, bro, slept through his alarm?
It was straight down this direct road called C.I.A Boulevard. So I get on C.I.A to go straight down the mountain and get to the embassy, turn on the radio, I'm listening to some music, and this announcer comes on and he says, avoid C.I.A Boulevard. There was a terrorist attack at Philothea. I had definitely never heard that. But when he said it, I see this white Rover in the far left lane. There's blood all over the interior of the windows.
My God.
And I can see when I get close enough that the driver's side window's been shot out, and Stephen Saunders drives a white Rover. It turned out that they had taken him to a hospital that was next door to the British Embassy, and he died there about 20 minutes later. I mean, we knew who did it. It was Revolutionary Organization 17 November. Now, 17 November usually would
Revolution
drop a
Organization
at the site of
November.
the assassination, or they would mail one to a leftist newspaper
So
at the site of the 17 November. Now,
what?
17 November usually would drop a manifesto at the site of the assassination, or they would mail one to a leftist newspaper. My boss runs into my office and he says, "Did you see the manifesto for the Saunders hit?" He says, "It mentions you." I said, "Come on, not possible." Like, seriously, nobody took security as seriously as I did. And he shows it to me, and it says in Greek, "We saw the big spy, but he was driving an armored car, and we knew he was armed. So we elected to carry out the revolutionary sentence on the war criminal Saunders." And he said, "You gotta go. We're gonna take you to the airport, you're gonna go home."
So he was supposed to go somewhere, pretty much, for like a meeting or something. And then as he was going there, or like as like, I guess like another group of people were going there, like people who he was supposed to go with, like for the meeting or whatever it was, those guys ended up getting attacked and shot up as they got there by one person. He didn't state how much people, but I'm assuming it's a lot of people. But that's pretty crazy, bro. This guy was like nationally wanted. He was like a actual like CIA like Black Ops agent, bro. You can't even go outside and just go out for a drive. God damn.
We'll pick up your kids. We'll pick up your...
Stepman is basically opposite of a one trick. That's actually crazy. I know, right? Bro does everything including drugs.
wife. We'll pack at your house. So we flew out. The night before that happened was the last night I spent
I learned something new.
in a house with my wife. And we were divorced soon after.
Oh, his
She's
wife was
just
like, nah.
Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore.
His wife was like, nah, bro. You're wanted nationally? His wife was like,
are
nope.
critically important to counterterrorism because as an American CIA officer, I'm not going to be able to
Stepman's like the
infiltrate a group
commander?
directly. I was one of only a handful of CIA officers who spoke fluent Arabic. Even with my fluent Arabic, I spoke with an accent. So John's not going to be able to put on a thobe and a dishdasha and you know, walk into a terrorist training camp and volunteer. That's just not real life. It doesn't happen. And so your job is to recruit someone who is either a member of a terrorist group or can become a member of a terrorist group so that you can use his information to disrupt future attacks. There are a million different types of people that you might want to consider recruiting. But if you recruit a bona fide terrorist, someone who is able to get into the group, you're going to meet with him once a month for hours probably, and he's going to give you 5, 6, 10 different intelligence reports. This is what they're talking about. This is what they're planning. They want to do an attack in, Bali or whatever. That's the stuff that you want to get. When I was training as a case officer, one of my instructors said to me that he had gone through his entire 30-plus year career in operations, and he never, ever had a target say no to a recruitment.
That's actually crazy though. Like, as you're like a CIA agent, like going out, like you have to like recruit people and shit like that. Like, pretty much like you're acting as like a undercover like agent, and you're out there being like you low-key like recruit people who you want to like recruit to like your mission and stuff, to gather information or whatever. Interesting. I think that's really interesting.
And I said, you must be like some kind of a magical wizard of recruitment. And he laughed and he said, no. When you eventually say, listen, I'm not really, the economic officer here, I'm really a CIA officer. When you drop that cover, you have to be certain that they're not going to run screaming from the room, calling for the police, reporting you to their ambassador. You're going to get arrested, you're going to get expelled, your career's going to come to a halt. You have to be 100% sure. That's where you take them to lunch, you take them to dinner, you spend weekends together, you do day trips, your wives become friends, your kids are playing together, to the point where you have figured out by now whether he has a vulnerability. And a vulnerability can mean a lot of different things. Maybe he just...
Can you imagine that? You're chilling with someone, you're having dinner with them, you're vibing, having a good time, just simply just like living life. And then out of nowhere, you find out that he's like a CIA agent. Everything's a lie. His family is a lie. His kid's not even his kid. Bro, he's not even from there, bro. Not even from the same anywhere. Like, this guy's, his name is a lie, bro. And you're just there like, oh shit, god damn, bruh. Holy fuck. Like, he's an agent and you just don't know at all. That's insane. It's a battle cruiser carried Brood Lord. Oh, he has a unit called a Mecha Battle Cruiser Lord. Holy fuck. A battle cruiser. I want to see that. That's insane. It's a Brood Lord with Inceptors from the carriers and a Setimo cannon. Oh, for the battle cruiser Setimo cannon thingy from the battle cruisers. Oh wow, that's actually kind of crazy. Damn, you could not believe if your friend was an agent. Yeah, that's basically what he says. He's saying he's like, his family plays together, everything plays together, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm low-key an agent. Yeah, that would be messed up. Can you believe one of your friends just came to you out of nowhere? Could you believe that? Imagine like your best friend just comes to you, and your best friend's like, by the way, Carsey, or Hyushi, or whoever, I'm actually an agent from this location. That would be crazy. I'll be like, what? I'll be like, nah. And next thing you know, he just shows you a whole bunch of like freaking shit that you just you shouldn't even know. That'd be crazy.
Really, really loves his kids. That can be a vulnerability, because then that allows me to say, I see how much you love your kids. I know you want your kids to go to the best schools. I can literally get your kid into Harvard. And I'll pay for it too, by the way. And he says, well, what do you want in exchange? Well, I want the plans to that new Russian tank. I'd really like to get a peek at it. Another vulnerability would be, maybe the guy's wife has cancer, but you can get her into the Mayo Clinic where she can get the best cancer treatment on the planet. Maybe the guy's a drinker or a gambler, even better, and he's always short of money because he's maybe embezzling a little bit from the embassy. 95% of recruitments are made for the money. Sometimes it's ideology, sometimes it's this desire for excitement. They love James Bond, they want to be a part of it. But sometimes it's for revenge. They hate their boss, they hate their country, they hate their leader. You've got to develop that target to the point where he comes to believe that you are his best friend. To the point where in your heart, he's willing to commit espionage for you. The resources at the CIA are virtually unlimited. In exchange, though, the information has to be incredible. let's say, but you have access to the location of the leader of Al-Qaeda, and we're able to break down the door and grab the guy, there's a reward for you of between $10 and $25 million that we will pay in cash, in gold, in diamonds, in land, any way you want to receive it. But the budget is going to be there.
That's insane. Can you imagine that? Like, holy snap. So, CIA agents are actually kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you're telling me you go to a random area, you befriend someone, you become like their bestest friend. You're there, like, you're going to their mom's house, eating fucking porridge and shit with them and whatever. Fucking, just doing everyday stuff. You go into the movies laughing, getting a drink. You know, you tell them, like, one day you're just like, bro, yeah, my wife, she broke up with me. I just hate this country now. I just hate it. And that person right there and then, bro, gives like the Death Note smile. He's just like, bro gives the light y'all give me smile. He's like, I found out your weakness. In his head he says. And he's like, so, you hate your country, huh? Broke up with your wife, huh? Well, you see, I have a proposition for you. Death Note music cues here. After he just offers him like fucking like $20 million so he could like, I don't know, fucking just like get new wife, gets like 20 different girlfriends, 20 different wives, and then I don't know, just moves out the country or some shit like that. I don't know, just like some random shit. Like, damn. Imagine you ask your best friend what's his job, then he pulls out a Glock on you. Oh my gosh. If you remember that one co-op mission where you collect a Terranize, you actually collect it for Stretman, and he needs it to research. Research means getting high. Why do I remember that? That's actually hilarious. Was that in Wings of Liberty? The fuck? No, I feel like I remember a scene like that. I want to get some almonds. I'll be right back.
Information's good. I made a recruitment one time. I heard from a source a group of members of a terrorist cell were meeting for coffee in the same coffee house. Every single day, 10 o'clock, they'd go for coffee.
I haven't played Battle Cats in a while.
Which is a terrible thing to do by way of tradecraft. Right? Never establish a pattern. I started going there at 9:30 in the morning. So sure enough, 10 o'clock, they came in, 4 or 5 of them. And one of them turned and looked at me. I did that for a week. I started the second week. Every day, 9:30, I'm sitting there with my Arabic newspaper. And this time one of them nodded at me. So I nodded back to him. And then one day, he came in by himself. And he sits down and we start talking. And I asked him how's his family. Oh, he said, my wife is in Cairo with my son and my daughter, and I've never met my son. He really was a family man. He was religious. He made some bad decisions and ended up in Afghanistan. And he just wanted to go home. And I said to him, if that's all you want, you just want to go home? I said, well, I can take care of that. To make a long story short, I recruited him. I got him his passport. I gave him some money to get himself established again, and put him on a plane. And he gave me, in return, everything I had asked for. Very specific information that we use to actively recruit other Al-Qaeda members. I asked him at the end of it, why did you let me recruit you? And he said, I've been here for 5 years. And you were the first person who ever asked me about my family.
That's pretty cool. So, he had to switch up his time frame to where he was meeting at the location that he was meeting at, and just really cool because it gives you like a bit of insight to like how he goes about like his missions and like his job, which is interesting. Still, like, imagine that is your job. You know, like you just have to like gather information. Like you just wake up to the time, go have breakfast. You know, you probably have like a bunch of regular days for like 20 days, maybe. After one day, you just have like a crazy, just like fucked up day. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Attack on Titans, when Eren was when he left Paradise Island and he went to Raynar's area, and like he was pretty much like there like as like a spy. He was just there, kind of just like pretending that he was like some disabled old man and some shit like that. And it's after, like, out of nowhere, once he's ready, bro, this guy like destroys the area. So messed up. That's what it reminds me of. It's crazy, bro. Crazy stuff. Today I'm just watching videos right now, just reacting to videos. I might hop on Warcraft later.
There are no tactics taught to help you ingratiate yourself with potential targets. You either have it in your gut or you don't. So a normal asset meeting, you go through the Mad Minute, where you followed here, where you followed home last time. Do you have any problems, any concerns during the course of the month? And let's meet 1 month from tonight, you know, at 8 o'clock at such and such a hotel. Then you sit down, you have a coffee. How was your month? How are things going? What have you heard? What do you think about this guy? What do you know about him? Do we need to be worried about him? Is he going to be in charge of the weapons cache?
So he meets a random person now, and now he's giving all the information back to his boss. His boss is like, yo, so you trust this guy? Is he good? Is he good? You sure he's good? Yeah, he better be good, because you know if he's not good. That's what it means, bro, being a CIA agent, bro. You gotta make sure that your intel is credible. Gotta make sure he's good.
Kind of thing. It's not unusual for a meeting to last 2 or 3 hours. I was in a meeting once that lasted 8 hours. Could be at a safe house. It can be walking down the
I know,
beach.
right?
Anywhere where you're going to be safe, and that will be private. There was one source I recruited.
Bro, I was thinking
it was
he
too
looked like
dangerous
someone.
to meet him in the country that I recruited him in, so we would.
Hold on. Guys, this might be the same. He might be the same person, low key. It might be the same person, bro. You know, probably just like a switch up on the hair. The eyes are a bit different. And honestly, bro, it's a CIA agent. It's a CIA agent, so he might have a second alternative, like, disguise. Like, actually. This might be his backup identity, bro. Guys, we might be onto something. But yo, we don't mess with the CIA, bro. I don't want the CIA agents on us. They're worse than the Nintendo ninjas, bro. They're worse than Nintendo ninjas.
Fly to Europe, and we would meet in Europe once a month, and we would meet like 8 hours a day for 3 days.
So he's talking about a double agent
then
right now.
I would take a train to a different country, so it didn't look like we were both flying back from the same city at the same time, and it didn't arouse any suspicion. Yeah, some meetings by necessity are conducted in cars. And so sometimes you're going to have to do what's called a CPU, a car pickup. You want to be able to pick the person up at a spot where as few people as possible are going to see you. Maybe you're doing it in
We don't know
a
nothing.
semi-residential area.
CIA don't come at us.
He's standing on a corner. You come down an alley instead of a main street. He jumps in the car and you take off. Let's say the meeting is at 2 o'clock. You want to be there between 1:58 and 2:02. And if you're there at 1:58 and he's not there, you do one more run. And if he's not there by 2:02, you abort the meeting and you try it again 24 hours later or 72 hours later, or whatever your agreement is. You don't want somebody to say, I wonder why that car keeps driving in a loop, you know? And then they write down your license plate number. You don't want to come to anybody's attention.
That's legit. I like how they said, like, okay. Or how he said, okay, yeah. You don't want to be too suspicious. You don't want to loop the same spot. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. Because, like, if you do this, that, this, then someone might be looking. They're like, yo, that guy looks mighty suspicious right there. Someone just takes a picture of you. And now they're just, like, out of nowhere, you just see, like, wanted signs. Like, imagine, like, you wake up one day, like, you're doing your job, bro. You know, like you brush your teeth, you're leaving the house, you pack your lunch and everything. You're going to your library, bro. And you go into your library, bro, you just see like wanted signs like all over the area of you, and you're just like, and you see like one person looking at you in the corner over there, just staring at you. You're like, a next person staring at you over there, is like, and it's just like, oh fuck. You just drop your shit and just run. Just drop everything and start running. Everyone's like, yo, get him. I like how people don't notice anything. Everyone's just busy with their own lives. There are a lot of things you can do in public. Yeah, literally. Bro, stop. Bro, I can't. I want to fix my blur, but like, fuck, bro. My blur been mosh up, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's been broken. Call that stonks.
Double agents are
stonks.
indeed real. Double agents are a very, very
something
big
you should have done a
problem
long time
on
ago,
both
bro. I'm
sides
sorry.
of the double. I was well into my career, and I had a great friend who was a station chief. He called me one day. I was at headquarters, and he called me from overseas, and he said, "Hey, I was hoping you could do me a favor. One of my guys has recruited a double agent. The double doesn't know that we know he's a double. The enemy country has instructed the double to demand to only speak with the station chief." And he said, "I live here. It's too dangerous for me to meet with this guy. Can you fly out here and pretend to be me and handle the double agent?" I said, "Of course." So I fly out and I meet with the guy. I meet him in some hotel and I give him a big bear hug at first, which is unusually warm in the Middle East, but I needed to pat him down for weapons. And he didn't have any weapons. And so I made a big deal of taking off my jacket to show him that I didn't have any weapons. I sat down, we ordered some coffee from room service. He said, "Are you the chief?" I said, "You asked for him, you got him, buddy. I'm the chief." I would meet with him once a month. And this went on for about 6 months. We were getting, the take on everything that he was reporting back and what the enemy country was telling him to do. Finally, I'm at headquarters one day. I get a call from the sister agency.
I'm sorry,
and
guys.
the woman says, "Are you handling this double case?" And I said, "Yeah." "Listen, he's been instructed to kill you in the next meeting." I said, "Oh, come on." The guy's afraid of shit.
That is hilarious, bro. You're meeting with someone and someone's just like, "Yeah, that guy's gonna kill you in the next meeting." God damn, bro. Are you still gonna go to the meeting?
Yeah, no, he's not gonna kill me. I know him well. He's a coward. He's not gonna pull a gun and shoot me. But even if he were to pull a gun and shoot me, how about this? Usually, he calls me when he's coming into the lobby of the hotel. I'll tell him to come up to the room directly, and when he comes in, I'll prop the door open. When he comes in, I'll grab him, take him down. You guys burst in from the other room, and we get him. They reluctantly agreed with a proviso that I wear a bulletproof vest. I said, "Fine." So I fly back out, and 4 armed
Bro really went on a mission, but instead he brought a bulletproof vest
security guys in the
and 4 security guards.
lobby. And it turns out the bad guys have 4 armed security people in the lobby. And they're all kind of looking at each other sideways, like, "Who are these guys? What's that bulge on that guy's waist?" That kind of thing. They're all just...
So he recruited a next guy, and that guy turned out to be a double agent. So he's not just no regular civilian. He was an agent on the next the opposing side, pretty much, the ops. So he finds out our main protagonist right here. Basically, yeah, he finds out he's going to be assassinated in the next meeting. So he's like, "All right, you know what? I'm going to fucking bring like 4 security guards, bulletproof vests, and all of that. So when we like meet up, we'll be ready. You know what? We have people. We have 4 security guards." So he goes to his hotel room, and the freaking he has 4 security guards in the lobby, and the 4 security guards, his security guards are there, and they're just there holding their guns, and they look over to their right, and they just see some other security guards with guns. They're like, "Huh?" They just make eye contact. They're like, "Huh? The fuck?" And they're looking at each other, just eyeing each other down, like, the hell? That's actually funny. I know, right? This is some Looney Tune type of shit. Please bake. Bro, double agent, triple agent has fake friends, fake enemies in the lobby, just fake everything. Fake security guards. They're not even supposed to be there. And the real security guards are probably there too. There's probably like 3 set of agents there, 3 set of security guards. His security guards with guns and AKs. The double agent security guards with guns and bazookas and AKs, semi-automatic. And then the regular security guards are probably there like, yo, who hired these new recruits? There's so much people here, and they're probably there trying to call their boss like, yo, why do we have like at least like 12 security guards at the main lobby? Like, I think this is a bit too much. The boss is probably like, yo, I don't know what's going on, bro. Yeah, no. It's all 8 guards just standing there at the same time. That's crazy.
Kind of standing around staring at each other. So he calls me, the double, and I said, come up to room, whatever it is, 615. He comes to room 615. I've propped the door open. He comes in. I tackle him. He's trying to get the gun out of his waistband. I have his arm, his hand. My colleagues burst in from the side, and I'm just sitting on him. I have him pinned down on the floor, and I'm sitting on his chest. In the meantime, he's just like, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And so my liaison partners gave him a shot of Demerol and knocked him out. We put him on a gurney and covered him up like he was dead. And we put him in the service elevator, took him down, put him in an ambulance, and we took him to Intelligence Service Headquarters. He woke up 2 hours later, tied to a chair. I said, we can do it the easy way, we can do it the hard way. It's totally up to you. We know who you are. He was the leader of that country's Hezbollah wing. I said, we want all the weapons, all of them. We know that you're the keeper of the weapons. He's like, F you. So I said to liaison, we should just break into his house. I mean, there's a good chance all these weapons are just in his house. And they said, we can't. He's got a live-in maid, and she doesn't know anything, and she never ever leaves the house. And I said, okay, well, let's just declare a gas leak in the neighborhood, and then we'll evacuate the cul-de-sac, and then we'll just go in. We'll bring a locks and picks team in and just pick the lock. They said, no, we can't do that. We don't have gas lines in this country. We use propane. Bring a propane truck. We'll leak the propane. Then we'll just declare the emergencies.
Wow.
The fire department comes. They evacuate all of the 6 houses. We break into his house and we find a safe, like a double-sized.
So wait, they actually did that? They just leaked a whole bunch of propane everywhere and told everyone there's a propane leak when there's no actual propane being used? Hold on, what? Damn,
Declare
bro.
the emergencies. The fire department comes. They evacuate probes and the men and just pick the lock. They said, no, we can't do that. We don't have gas lines in this country. We use propane. Bring a propane truck. We'll leak the propane. Then we'll just declare the emergencies. The fire department comes. They evacuate all of the 6 houses.
They did all of that just to like make people evacuate so they could inspect the house. Interesting. That's some like serious stuff.
Break into his house and we find a safe, like a double-sized gun safe. It was enormous, the biggest gun safe I've ever seen. The weapons have to be in there. So we bring the locks and picks team in, and they've got, the stethoscope on, and they're doing the tumbler, and they crack the safe. They open it, and it's empty, except for this handwritten, like childlike handwritten map. So we get in these 2 Jeeps. We drive south, as the map tells us to do. We get out where it tells us to get out, and we found this bunker full to the ceiling with every weapon they had. Landmines, hand grenades, rocket-propelled grenades, everything they had. We completely put Hezbollah out of business in that country. And as it turns out, he's still in prison 25 years later.
Damn. The guy who was meeting coffee with, who was having coffee with and everything, is still in prison 25 years later. But that's honestly like a really successful mission. Like, no one got killed in it. Like, like they managed to somehow weed out the double agent by basically like, I guess like, I don't know how to word it. Like, the double agents, I guess, found him. He recruited him. And then that all worked out in their favor, and they got all their guns and stuff. That's pretty cool, like, actually. This is really cool to me, by the way. I love this shit.
An SDR is a surveillance detection route. This is something that...
And I don't know about chess, maybe. We'll see. I might play one game, but no. I normally play chess off-stream, low-key.
Literally every CIA officer must be trained in. This is what's going to keep you from being assassinated or arrested. And so you leave what's called your kickoff point. It could be home, the office, wherever you happen to be. You'll do one that's maybe 2 hours. If you're in a very hostile place, your SDR could be 8 hours. You're changing into pre-positioned cars, you're taking the subway, then you're walking, then you get in a different car, maybe you take an Uber for a little bit of it. An SDR comes in 4 different phases. The kickoff phase, you just go from your kickoff to point A. And then you do kind of it's called a stair step. Make a right, a left, a right, a left, a right, a left, to go to your next stop, which is maybe, it's a fabric store. When you're stair stepping like that, you can definitely see if you're being followed. If you're being followed, you abort the meeting and you just drive home. And you do the whole thing again 24 hours later. If you are not sure you're being followed, you enter what's called the provocative phase, where you'll drive halfway up a block, then make a U-turn and drive back. Make a K-turn, drive back, pull into another driveway, make a K-turn. Stuff that doesn't make any sense at all. But that's just to make sure with 100% certainty that you're not being followed. I served overseas with a woman who was a legitimate State Department officer. She came into the office one day and she said, "Oh, I was under heavy surveillance last night. I took them on a ride that they'll never forget. I was going 100 miles an hour down the highway, and I'm just sitting there listening." Because what happened was, they determined that because she tried so hard to lose them, she must be the CIA officer. And so they never, ever surveilled me, because I'm going to the wine store and going to the fabric store, and then I'm driving home. But they were plenty interested in her. You have to be very, very careful not to establish patterns. And I almost got her overseas with a woman who was a legitimate State Department officer.
Oh, she's a State Department officer. Sorry, I wanted to hear what she worked as again, because it's just funny. She's going about the story like, yeah, I took them on a crazy chase. This, that, this, da, da, da.
Came into the office one day. I'm down
funny.
into that door and going to the fabric store, and then I'm driving home. But they were plenty interested in her. You have to be very, very careful not to establish patterns. And I almost got myself burned twice. So there was one point where I was flying to Eastern Europe once a month to handle an asset that I had recruited. He was very proud of the village that he had come from. It was high up in the mountains, and there was a hunting lodge up there. He said, "Let's go to this hunting lodge. I remember it so fondly from my childhood, and they serve wild boar, and they serve bear stew, and all kinds of crazy stuff." So I went with him. I ordered a very unusual drink, which I shouldn't have, but it was something my grandmother used to drink. And I remembered it from my childhood, and he was talking about his childhood, so I ordered the drink. And the waitress brought it to me. The next month, I flew up to see him, and he said, "Let's go to the hunting lodge again. They have venison this time of the year, and it's really amazing." So we drive to the hunting lodge, and I ordered the drink, the same drink. And the waitress says, "I remember you." And I said, No, I don't think so. I've never been here before." And she said, "Yes, you have. You're the only person who's ever ordered that drink. And I've been here for 10 years. I said, "Oh, that's right. I was here once before." It's like, doggone it. She spotted me. Now, she was just a waitress. But what if she'd been an intelligence officer posing as a waitress? Or what if she was a police informant who's going to now rat me out to the local cops that I'm meeting with this guy? And so afterwards I said, "I am so sorry. I blew it. We can never, ever go back there again." And we never did.
This guy said that he's never going back to the place ever again because someone remembers him because he got a very unique drink. And then he got the drink again, and the girl remembered him. And he was just like, "God damn, like, what if that was, like, some, like, next agent, bro?" Like, bro's probably so paranoid. Can you imagine how paranoid you are being on these missions? Take him alive.
In January of 2002, I was named Chief of C.I.A. Counterterrorism Operations in Pakistan. And there was a flood of Al-Qaeda fighters across the border into Pakistan. So I went out and I came up with this idea that instead of trying to catch them in these forbidding mountains, we'll catch 5, 10, 20 at a time in the safe houses. So that's the practice that we adopted. And then after I had been in Pakistan about 6 weeks, we got word that Abu Zubaydah was somewhere in Pakistan. We thought at the time, wrongly, that Abu Zubaydah was the number 3 in Al-Qaeda. If you wanted to be smuggled into Afghanistan to make jihad, he would smuggle you in. And finally, I asked headquarters to send a friend of mine out. He was a targeting analyst, somebody who pours through millions of bits of data to try to isolate the location of one person. I said, buddy, we're on the trail of Abu Zubaydah. And I said, but he's right ahead of us. We just can't catch him. Like sometimes we'd break down a door and there's a cigarette that's still lit. So I said, you gotta pin this down for me. We just can't find him. Finally, he came to me and he said, I can't get it down to any fewer than 14 sites. I said, 14 sites? We've never done more than 2 raids in a single night before. Like, this doesn't really help. So I cabled headquarters and I said, we're gonna need a big team. I asked for 36 people. I asked for a pallet of weapons and ammunition and cash and night vision goggles and more battering rams and you name it. And then the next day, a colleague of mine and 2 Pakistani officers started going from site to site to look at all 14 sites. We wanted to make sure we weren't driving into an ambush. Do they know we're coming tonight? Most of these places were little hovels, little one-room shacks made of concrete block or corrugated tin. It was miserable. We come out of the back end of the University of Faisalabad and there's this enormous yellow house, which corresponds with Site 12. And my Pakistani counterpart said, I can tell you right now, something bad is happening in there. He said, it's 100 degrees right now, and all their shutters are closed. They have to be broiling in there, but they want people to think there's nobody home. We caught dozens and dozens of people crammed into that house. We're going to the last site, and the analyst calls me, and he says, Abu Zubaydah just made a terrible mistake. He accessed his emails from a landline. I said, oh my God, and the landline is associated with an address. And he says, and it's Site 13. I still have chills thinking about it. And I said, we got him. So we drive to Site 13, but it's an empty field. I said, how can this be? We're sure that he's here, but there's no house here. It's just an empty field. And the Pakistani major laughs and he says, now this happens all the time. He calls a young technical officer, climbs the pole, goes through this head of wires, finds the wire, follows it down the pole, down the alley, and he says, it's that house right there. We all gathered. It was like 60, 70 of us, Pakistanis, FBI, CIA, we all gathered at the safe house. I stood on the coffee table and I said, okay, so rule number 1, we have to take him alive. And exactly as the clock strikes 2, break down the door, separate the women and children from the men, and take all the men to the Faisalabad jail. And so at 2 a.m., I was on the roof of the safe house with my buddy, and I looked at my watch and I said, 0200, here we go. And then we hear gunshots, and I said, that's not good. We jump into our car, we speed over to Site 13, and there are 3 people laying in the street. One is obviously dead. One looks like he's dead or he's going to be dead pretty soon. And the other one is screaming bloody murder. So I said, what happened? And this Pakistani policeman says, we got him, we got your man. And he points at the guy who's like almost dead. I didn't have time to scream at this guy that the order was to take him alive. What happened was Abu Zubaydah, a Syrian bomber, and Abu Zubaydah's bodyguard climbed to the roof of the safe house and were jumping to the roof of the neighboring house to try to escape. And this Pakistani policeman was just picking them off as they were jumping, and he shot Abu Zubaydah 3 times in the thigh, the groin, and the stomach. So I said, this doesn't look anything like our target. We had a 6-year-old passport photo. So I called the analyst. I said, listen, I don't know if it's him. He said, give me a shot of his eye. I'll run a retinal scan. So I lifted up his eye, and it was rolled back in his head. All you could see was white. He's bleeding to death. All I get are the whites of his eyes. He said, get me his ear. Take a picture of his ear. I didn't know that no 2 people on earth have the same ears until that night. They're like fingerprints. So I take a picture of the ear. Headquarters says, it's him. So we pick him up, throw him in the back of this pickup truck, speed to Faisalabad Hospital. So they rush him into surgery. But word got around the Al-Qaeda community that we had gotten him. And so they started driving by the hospital and just opening fire on the hospital. We kept diving down. I said to the Pakistani...
Bro, what the fuck? Yo, what is this story? Yo, honestly, yo, like, I'm listening to this story, I'm like, yo, bro, are you guys taking this shit in, fam? Like, this all started from, like, a fucking email that was sent. They said that, like, some, like, Al-Qaedan, whatever, I don't remember what area he's in, sent a single email, and they pinpointed that email to find the guy, bro, to, like, get to the exact location. And they went into the house trying to, like, actually, like, you know, like, just take the person out, just, you know, just, like, capture him. And this guy was trying to capture him alive. And they tried to, like, they waited, they're like, yeah, we're gonna meet there at 0200, da da da. And they got there, like, it was a full-on Black Ops mission, like, capture this person alive. But then, like, one person, like, ends up fucking up. There's always just one person to fuck everything up and just, like, actually, like, kill the targets that you're not supposed to kill. But that ends up happening. And they ended up bringing the target to the hospital. But now that they brought the target to the hospital and, like, word got out, bro, people are just lighting up the hospital. Like, just, like, just lighting up the whole entire hospital. This is an insane story. Sorry, but, like, this story is actually interesting. Like, actually.
If they realize how lightly armed we are, we're dead. I said, can you get a helicopter in here? 20 minutes later, a helicopter lands in the parking lot. I walk into the operating room with like this, with my shirt up over my nose. I said, Doc, wrap it up. We have to go. We put him on the helicopter. Like 4 of us got onto the helicopter, and we flew to a Pakistani military base about 50 miles away. And the doctor there said he had never seen a patient with wounds so severe who lived. But he lived. And sure enough, it took a little while, but Abu Zubaydah started to open up. And the information that he gave was actionable. The way we prepared for raids in Pakistan.
Bro, no, this is actually, like, this is real too, bro. This is like some real ass, like, Call of Duty, like, missions. Oh my god. Like, whoa.
And was actually quite simple. I went online with my C.I.A. credit card and I bought everything I needed. I bought battering rams and bulletproof vests, weapons and ammunition and walkie-talkies, and you name it. We didn't have gear that I think most people would consider to be sophisticated. We all had 9mm, just 9mm, because they're so reliable. We all had bulletproof vests. A couple of the guys had helmets, not many. Lots and lots and lots of ammunition. And that was pretty much it. We got a tip with an address. We had 2 CIA officers, 2 FBI agents, and 2 Pakistani officials. And we went at 2 o'clock in the morning, counted 1, 2, 3.
Boom.
Boom with the battering ram, bust the door down, throw in a flashbang grenade, just to scare everybody and make them disoriented. And we grabbed these 2 kids. They were 18, 19 years old. They both burst into tears. And so we got a tip later in the week from a friendly Arab intelligence officer. So we did it again, and we caught some serious people the second time. A relatively senior member of Egyptian Islamic Jihad and some Al-Qaeda, like mid-level Al-Qaeda fighters. We did it at 2 a.m. because, like, literally everybody in Pakistan is sound asleep at 2 a.m. It's like they just closed the country. There's no traffic, there's nobody out there, everybody's asleep. And so we figured that was our best chance of not getting caught.
Wow. Just breaking into a house, you know, you get all the kids out the way. 2 a.m. missions. Jeez, bro. C.I.A training manual.
I did dozens of interrogations when I was in Pakistan, and I was always the good cop. It was always easier for me, more natural. And the Pakistanis, because it was their country and their rules are different than ours, they could be the bad cop. So the very first interrogation I did was of a Jordanian prisoner. They brought him in and we chained him to an eye bolt in the table, and I said, I'm from the American government and I want to ask you some questions. And he says, very well. Then I laid out a map of the Afghan-Pakistan border and I told him with his finger to show me exactly how he crossed the border. We knew how they were crossing the border. We called them rat lines. We knew where the rat lines were, but he told me the truth. And I thought, you know what, this actually works. And so brought in the next prisoner. Now there were some that had read the Al-Qaeda training manual, not knowing that I had also read it. And so they're like, you know, they pretend to pass out and they just fall off the chair. And you're just sitting there, and then like they're laying on the ground, they open one eye, and you're like, get back on the chair. What's the matter with you? And then they get up back, sit on the chair, and then they go, like this stomach pain, and you're like, buddy, I read the Al-Qaeda training manual. I know all the different.
Bro was trying to interrogate the people. The guys are like, oh, my stomach, ah. This guy is like, really, nigga? Like, you really think like a stomach ache's gonna like make me and stop the interrogation right now? Like really? That's exactly what he just did.
Things you're gonna try to do, and then they just won't answer any questions. So we send them back to the jail. The ones that were cooperative, for the most part, ended up being released. Some were held for a while in Pakistan, then they were expelled, sent back to their home country. But the ones who were uncooperative from Pakistan went to Guantanamo.
Guantanamo Bay. I heard that's like a crazy prison. That's a Prison Break, Guantanamo Bay. But yeah, interesting. The torture segments. Oh my god.
My conversations with Abu Zubaydah were generally not substantive. After 56 hours, the CIA sent in a private jet with a trauma surgeon from Johns Hopkins University Medical Center. He flew out to the base. They picked up Abu Zubaydah and they took him to the first of about a half a dozen secret sites. They took him all over the world just to make sure that the flight couldn't be traced. So he arrived at the secret site and was given 6 weeks to recover from his gunshot wounds. And so after 6 weeks, he was well enough to be interrogated. So an FBI agent by the name of Ali Soufan began interrogating him in that FBI way, where you treat people with respect and establish this rapport. Maybe you offer him a cigarette or an orange or a cup of tea, or if he's really, really helpful, you let him write a letter to his parents or whatever. And sometimes that takes days, weeks, months, whatever, but they always open up. And sure enough, it took a little while, a number of weeks, but Abu Zubaydah started to open up. And everything that he gave Ali was true. And it was actionable. For example, we didn't have any idea what the Al-Qaeda wiring diagram looked like. This sounds nuts now, but in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, we didn't know what this Al-Qaeda really was. The other thing he told us was even more important. So Abu Zubaydah told us about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. We had never heard the name before, and we were able to focus all of our counterterrorism assets just to find Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And we found him. It took us another year, but we found him. 9/11 was still an open, fresh criminal investigation. And so, you know, the FBI needed to be interrogating these prisoners. And the CIA resented that we were overseas and the FBI was in charge of the interrogation, because the traditional relationship is that the CIA is always in charge overseas. The CIA insisted that it be them. And so the CIA was not willing to be patient.
Suspected CIA. Wait, the CIA suspected Abu Zubaydah was still hiding information about Al-Qaeda on July 8, 2002, it sent a request to the U.S. Attorney General for approval of aggression interrogation methods, including waterboarding. On July 26th,
they picked up Abu Zubaydah and they took him to the first of about a half a dozen secret sites where he underwent merciless torture. We have nothing to show for it. Torture is the worst possible interrogation technique. It does not work. Yes, eventually the prisoner is going to tell you what you want to know or what he thinks you want to hear, but there's so much garbage that's thrown in with that. It's going to take your analysts months to pour through the information to see what's real, what's not real. And by then, the bomb has already gone off or the operation has already taken place and, you've just cost more American lives. Torture is not appropriate under any circumstances. We caught a guy.
Honestly, I like this guy. But still, no. Torture is kind of fucked up. I like how he even covers the torture segment though, because, of course, you always see torture in movies. If you know Game of Thrones has a little torture segment where they have this little rat on someone's stomach, and they make the rat I think they heat up the cage and make the rat have nowhere to escape. So what the rat ends up doing, cause since it's a bucket on the person's stomach, the rat ends up digging into their stomach, and it keeps on digging and digging and digging until they get inside of his stomach. And bro, what the fuck? Oh my gosh. I remember what they did to, what's his name? Was it Jamie? Not Jamie. The other guy in fucking Game of Thrones. Bro, they cut off the guy's no, I'm not even gonna say it. Holy fuck.
In Pakistan. And we sent him off to be tortured. And I start getting these hair on fire cables.
Do you think someone will want to cooperate after being tortured? Nah, they're gonna have anger and resentment, bro. It's crazy.
From the secret site, saying, here's an address in Quetta. It's the big Al-Qaeda safe house. You have to go raid it. And we bust down the door in the middle of the night, and it's just some old lady living in her house. Then we get another hair on fire cable saying, there's a weapons cache, and it's buried next to this building in Peshawar, and here's the address. And we go, and it's a shish kebab restaurant. And we've got, metal detectors and ground penetrating radar, and there's nothing buried there at all. The Senate Select Committee on Intelligence majority staff decided to do a complete and comprehensive study on the CIA's torture program, which of course the CIA called enhanced interrogation techniques. They ended up writing a 5,000-page report that is so damning and so highly classified that all that was released was a very heavily redacted copy of the 500-page executive summary of the report. And so the CIA essentially admits that it came up with the torture program, it paid handsomely for the torture program, it implemented the torture program. When I returned from Pakistan, I was asked by a CTC colleague if I wanted to be, his words, certified in the use of enhanced interrogation techniques. I had never heard that term before. So I said, that sounds like a torture program. He said, it's not a torture program. DOJ approved it and the president signed it. I said, this is a torture program and I don't want anything to do with it. I was the only one who said no. That conversation about torture bothered me very deeply. And then I got passed over for promotion. I just captured Abu Zubaydah with these two hands. And we still thought at the time he was the number 3. And I got passed over for promotion. I went into my boss's office, I was screaming. And he said, in your promotion panel, the director said that you displayed a shocking lack of commitment to counterterrorism. I said, because I won't torture people. Well, I was also friendly with the deputy director of the CIA. And he came up to me one day and he goes like this, your name wasn't on the list. I said, you believe it? And he promoted me.
So this guy captures the number 1 Don Dada boss, bro. Just number 1 fucking just just the number 1 terrorist guy. Captures him with his own bare hands. Not even killed, alive. And because he turned down or because he disagreed with a torture program, he didn't get a promotion. I'm telling you, man, these jobs will just replace you on the dime, bro. They'll replace you on the dime. They don't give a
stroke
fuck.
of a pen, which was incredibly generous. And then I went on to my next assignment after that. Resigned from the CIA a year later, went into the private sector, and I thought, this torture program is so wrong and so illegal. Somebody's going to say something to the media. And nobody did. And then in December of 2007, ABC News called me. I had never spoken to a journalist before. He had a source who said that I had tortured Abu Zubaydah. I said, absolutely untrue. I was the only person who was kind to Abu Zubaydah. I'll give you your interview. And so we met up at ABC News studios in Washington. I said that the CIA was torturing its prisoners. I said that torture was the official policy of the U.S. government. It was not the result of a rogue. And I said that the policy had been personally approved by the president. I am very sorry to tell you that Abu Zubaydah is still in Guantanamo today. This is a man who has been in American custody now for almost 24 years. He's never been accused of a crime, let alone convicted of one. And according to the Senate torture report, quoting the CIA, he will never be freed, and when he dies, he'll be cremated and his ashes thrown into the Caribbean. It's un-American. I've been in touch with his attorneys.
Whoa.
And they continue to be slightly hopeful that the political tide will eventually change and somebody in the White House is going to do the right thing. I hope that's the case. I think he should have been released many years ago when we first realized that this was not the number 3 in Al-Qaeda, that he had never committed a crime against Americans. He had never joined Al-Qaeda. And even if he had founded the House of Martyrs safe house and the Kandahar and Helmand training camps, he's paid for those crimes many times over. He should be released.
Wow. That's crazy. This video is long though.
The
It's like
CIA
10 minutes.
reported me to the
14
FBI
minutes
for
left.
revealing classified information. They investigated me for 3 more years. I had no idea my emails were being intercepted. Teams of FBI agents were conducting surveillance on me. And then I was arrested in January of 2012 and charged with 5 felonies, including 3 counts of espionage. So I was facing 45 years in prison. The government offered me 30 months, of which I would do 23, and then the whole thing would go away. My lawyers told me that this could be a blip in my life, or it could be the defining event in my life. Make it the blip. My wife and I stayed up all night long. And I said, by God, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not going to take it. The lawyers were so mad, they came to my house 7 o'clock in the morning, and he said, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you think this is about justice, and it's not about justice. It's about mitigating damage. Take the deal. And I said, if I don't take the deal and I'm convicted, what am I realistically looking at? And he said 12 to 18 years. Take the deal. And so I took the deal. The sad irony, I would even call it the sick irony of this whole story, is that I'm the only person who had any connection whatsoever with the CIA's torture program who went to prison. Not because I tortured anybody, but because I blew the whistle on it. The people who came up with the torture are free and rich, I might add. The people who approved the torture are free and rich. The people who carried out the torture are free. The people who covered up the torture are free. I was the only one who went to prison. And honestly, I wouldn't change anything. I'm on the right side of history, and they are not.
That's crazy, bro. Wow, bro. Honestly, yo, that just goes to show you, bro, that's a huge reflection on just like corporations and just like big businesses in general. And this is like the CIA. This is probably like one of the biggest businesses in America. Firstly, they said they have an infinite money glitch, you know, show me the money, StarCraft glitch, or hack, or cheat code, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, actually, bro, that's insane. So, because I guess he used the word whistleblow on a policy or a change that was being added to torture people. Because he called that out, he was not given his promotion. Not only that, reporters contacted him and I guess wanted to like look into it so they could basically I guess like just like talk about it, because it became like a thing. Like he's the one who like whistleblew it and said no to it, so it became a story. So now that reporters came out to it and he spoke out on it, the CIA basically ended up sending lawyers after him saying like yo, stop talking about this, and if you don't take this deal, then you're gonna go to prison for this amount of time. If not, then like you walk away scot-free or something like that. That's just like messed up, like when you really think about it. Wow, bro. That's actually crazy. Sorry, Hyushi, I didn't know you were a stream because you were building Magic the Gathering deck for the past 2 hours. I played Pot of Greed and summoned Charizard. I win. Pot of Greed and summoned Charizard? That's freaking Yu-Gi-Oh! Combined with Pokemon. But yo, this thing is messed up, bro. Have you
I started
blindfolded?
working for the CIA on January the 7th, 1990. And my first job there was in an office. It was to be an analyst. I got bored with analysis in 1997, and so I decided to make a very unusual switch to counterterrorism operations. A counterterrorism ops position opened where they were looking for an officer who spoke either Greek or Arabic. It turned out that I was the only person in the entire CIA who spoke both Greek and Arabic. They decided that it was a lot cheaper and a lot easier to take a linguist and teach him operations, so I got the job. Then you start the basic training on how to recruit spies to steal secrets. And you go to training at what's called the Farm, which is the CIA's famed training center. The first thing I did was a class that we called Crash and Bang. It was literally crashing cars through roadblocks or having your instructors shooting at your car with, paint pellets and you rolling out of the passenger door and opening fire on a robot that's firing at you from a van. The bang part was learning how to use weapons, the Glock 9mm semi-automatic handgun, the Smith & Wesson 38 revolver, the Remington pump-action 12-gauge. We fired tens of thousands of rounds and really became experts in these things. It was a lot of fun. And then you go into these other courses, things like defensive driving, counter-terrorist.
Sorry, I just love how he said that was really fun. Like, imagine like you're just training for shit, and like it's like a paintball fight. There's fucking robots shooting at you. You have to roll out the car on the floor, aim under the car to like shoot the fucking robot's foot. Like, it's like, holy shit, guys, get down, get down. You just get shot by a paintball gun. It's like, oh fuck, I failed. In real life, you would have been dead right there, but it's just paintball, so it's fine. This shit's fun.
Driving, surveillance and surveillance detection.
Yo, guys, I want to be a CIA agent. This shit's fun.
And then I went on to my assignment in Greece. I was halfway into my tour in Athens when I received a cable inviting me to apply for acceptance to a new training course called Advanced Counterterrorism Operations. And I jumped at it. So I flew back to the States, took 6 weeks, and it was like in-depth, high-threat, high-danger counterterrorism operations. Then we started doing things like beacons, for example, or listening devices, or covert video, or, we were just starting with this notion of drones. It was all brand new. The driving portion was more about crashing through roadblocks, crashing through cars. I got injured in that training. I mean, this is serious. If you're in some island in the southern Philippines and the Al-Qaeda people down there are trying to stop you and they've got 2 cars blocking the road and you've got to crash through, you have to know which part of the car to crash through. For example, if they're just like this, right? The engine's too heavy. You're going to kill yourself if you crash into the engine. So you crash through the trunk, it pushes the car out of the way and you are able to drive off. You learn little things like the very first thing I do when I get in my car, and I still do it to this day, is I lock the doors. Before I even put the key in the ignition, I lock the doors. Because in training, they have you blindfolded and then they lift the blindfold off and you have 3 seconds to respond to whatever it is you see in front of you. It might be a roadblock, it might be a guy standing with an AK-47 in front of you, or it might be a guy opening your door very quietly to put a 9mm at your head and say, bang, you're dead, you fail, and then you have to do the whole thing over again. So you learn all these different techniques. They sent us out to Utah and then Nevada, and we just drove through the desert over sand dunes and, you know, how not to get stuck. Then we were on a track, you know, 60 miles an hour backwards and spinning around. We learned how to do pit maneuvers, but it's a lot of hands-on stuff. You're pretty banged up. Everybody had whiplash when we finished. And I had to have my right knee replaced. What we do for our country.
This guy's like he has to get his right knee replaced from training, bro. What the fuck?
So they prepared me for everything. In retrospect, nothing could possibly have better prepared me for 9/11 in Pakistan. I had been in Greece for a couple of months, and I had bought a 50-inch TV. So I had the TV on the back seat of my BMW 540, my armored BMW. I noticed that there was a motorcyclist to my right, and he was trying very hard to stay in my blind spot. So when I slow down, he slows down. When I speed up, he speeds up. I'm a little nervous. So I unzipped my fanny pack so that my gun was easier to get. And I slowed down, he slowed down. I decided to slam on the brakes and try to hit the guy. But he was good. So I hit the brakes, I swerve to the right, he swerves to the right, I miss him. I speed up, he speeds up. I swerved to hit him a couple of times again, and I couldn't hit him. But then it's Athens, which is famous for its traffic. So we come to this intersection. It's like a major intersection. It's 12 lanes, if you can imagine. And it's just jammed full of traffic. So I'm stuck. I pull out my gun. I'm starting to kind of panic inside myself.
Bro ended up getting followed. Had no idea if he was being followed or not, because he bought a TV. Bro just seen some random person following him when he got a TV, and he ended up trapping himself in a dead-end traffic jam. Bro's panicking, just pull out the gun. It's like, oh fuck, bro, it's time to crash out.
Not thinking, I'm in an armored car. Just crash the cars out of the way. That's what you're trained to do. But I'm prepared to get out and shoot the guy. He gets off the motorcycle, he reaches into his waistband, and he pulls out what looked to me like a 38. It was a smallish gun. It may have been a 22, but it looked like a 38. I saw a path to escape. And so I gunned it. I crashed the motorcycle. The motorcycle just goes flying. And I take off up GVCS. So I got to the cops, and they found the motorcycle. It turned out the license plate had been stolen. Then the question is, was this an attempted terrorist attack? We went out to literally every single one of our counterterrorism sources. None of them knew anything. And in the end, and it was a weeks-long investigation, they determined that it was an attempted carjacking. It was a thief who saw this, at the time, state-of-the-art, gigantic TV on the back of a BMW, and he thought, I'm going to carjack this guy and take his car and his TV. But it also put me in a frame of mind to be more wary, and so when I got to Pakistan, I was much quicker to act.
That's crazy, bro. Bro thought he was going to get set up, or at least like robbed or whatever, because you never know who's following you. That's just crazy. You really can't let your guard down. Oh, what a zombat. Autocorrect. You play Karibo. Jigglypuff, use your final smash. Jigglypuff, use your final smash now. Oh, we're playing Smash Bros now. All right, I use pay to win, and I summon Kazuya. Ew, Kazuya. Bro, I don't play Smash, but I know he's kind of OP. Yeah, Kazuya's actually like, he's overpowered. He has no he doesn't have no range tools, so he could get zoned and whatever. But when it comes to like boxing, like, you're not outboxing Kazuya. Like, simple as that.
I really believe that the future of counterterrorism is a combination of human intelligence and drones. To infiltrate terrorist groups, though, the drone's not going to collect the information. You know, these bad guys, they exercise electronic discipline. They're not going to say, the plans for the next terrorist attack are going to be this, you know, on the phone. You need human beings inside these groups to figure out what exactly they're planning to do. But then when it comes time to confront them, I think we're very quickly getting to a point where you're not going to see CIA officers on the ground with M4s and bulletproof vests and helmets parachuting out of planes. It's going to be drones with Hellfire missiles attached to their undersides. I'm worried about AI vis-a-vis counterterrorism. First of all, it's tough enough as it is to cross borders with 6 different identities, right? How in the world are CIA officers
Bro has 6 different identities. Crazy.
going to cross borders or get through airports with facial recognition scans and AI, you know, following their every movement around the world? At the same time, AI makes the bad guys smarter. So CIA's got the money, and they have access to the right people and the right companies and the...
One of his 6 identities is David Bazuki. Literally, bro. Literally. But shh. If they find out that we know, bro, you might be in trouble.
right experts to stay up on this, but this is going to be an uphill struggle. The international terrorism landscape changes constantly. There are some constants in that landscape, like ISIS or any of its variations. And then there are both Al-Qaeda and ISIS groups that have popped up individually in northern Pakistan, in India, in the Philippines, all over the place. So it's like playing whack-a-mole, where just as you destroy one, another one pops up that you have to bash in the head too. I think we should be choosing our battles carefully. We shouldn't be casting such a wide net. There's something recent that bothers me greatly, and that is the government's decision to expand the definition of a terrorist group, right? There's a pretty easy definition of terrorism. It is using violence to put forward a political goal. They're adding groups to the terrorism watch list that have never been on the terrorism watch list before. Groups that are loosely associated with what is called Antifa being added to the list is just silly to me. First of all, Antifa is not a group. It's an idea. It doesn't have a headquarters. They don't issue membership cards. They're just loosely affiliated people who are anti-fascist. I would posit that every soldier and sailor who participated in D-Day was anti-fascist. They would be Antifa. So that's just
silly. It was definitely
silly.
a typo.
To me, that's a mistake because it diverts attention and it diverts finances. We should be focused on the groups that mean us harm, real harm. We should be out there trying to hunt down the people who have taken an oath to kill Americans. So I'm worried that it's too easy now to describe people as terrorists. I disagree with President Trump's decision to declare the narco groups in Mexico and elsewhere in Latin America as terrorist groups. At first, I thought that he did that solely for legalistic reasons, because it would serve to free up budgets, and it would also authorize NSA to begin wiretaps or interceptions of the cartel's communications, which is awesome, great. But declaring them terrorist groups, other than allowing the Pentagon to drone their boats, which may or may not be their boats, I think it's misguided. I'm more of a civil libertarian in this respect, in that if these people are so dangerous and have committed such terrible crimes against the United States, charge them with a crime. You can't just not like somebody's face so you fly around the world to kill them. We're a nation of laws, and we should abide by those laws. So Anwar al-Awlaki, for example, the spokesman for Al-Qaeda, guy's an American citizen, born and raised in New Mexico, self-radicalizes, joins Al-Qaeda as their spokesman. We blew him up with a drone. He had never been charged with any crime. If he was as bad as you say he was, you at the CIA, then have the Justice Department file a charge against him. But you can't just go around the world murdering people whose politics you don't like and still profess to be this beacon of, respect for human rights. I like to consider myself a realist. If I had my way about it, I would tear the CIA down to the bare studs and maybe rebuild it, but as a shell of what it is today. But I know that's not going to happen. And so it's up to the rest of us, through our elected officials, to make sure that the CIA remain law-abiding or become law-abiding. Besides that, I often encourage young people to apply to the CIA. You can actually affect change from the inside. And I know that's how, if there's going to be change, that's how it's going to be. It's going to come from the inside.
That was actually really good. I didn't want to pause it like midway through that because it was just like a lot of like information that he was giving us. Generally though, I just find that I love how he touches on the whole state of the CIA and like how they function generally, and kind of like the corruption of like how things are, because he says a lot of things where it's like the CIA, they don't exactly like allow different people to have voices. They kind of like force these different policies on you and all these things, and it's not exactly like the best. Like every company has its issues. Obviously, there are bosses who don't listen to you. They might have their own agenda and way how they want to function. But this guy was really genuinely like I could see that he's a good person. Like he did his job with a sense of purpose, which was just really cool to me. I just found all of that just like really cool.
Which is awesome, great. But declaring them terrorist groups.
Yeah, and that part that he touched about, just like the way how even like how Trump operates, the way how he's I guess just labeling people as terrorists. Like you see how he said like the whole like torture thing? They brought that thing up and they allowed them to just like torture people. And now you have this thing where it's like, oh yeah, we could just like profile people and just like kill them without really having like a charge or anything. That's also unethical too. Like, where is the charge? Like, we shouldn't be able to just like kill someone, just like that. No, Donald Trump and just like America, like I always say, like America does like a lot of strange things. Like sometimes you look at it at the outside, and it's like, oh yeah, you guys, like I understand that you guys invaded like a country, just like that without anyone noticing, but like, damn, bro, you could just do that like that. That's kind of crazy. I understand that you want to like torture people to gather information from people so you could like, better and protect your country. But it's like, damn, bro, like you're actually like torturing people. This guy literally just said like, yo, like there's methods that you could do to like actually like gain rapport and like, like treat someone, and eventually, if not all the time, they'll end up giving you information. He said he's nice to everyone. He was nice to like all his people who he interrogated, or like, even like the double agent that he like captured and whatever. Like he treated them all like well. And like, like he did what he needed to do to get information. Like his boss used to say like, yo, like I have a guaranteed way to like get information from people just by treating them good and making them open up. But then you have like these other CIA agents that are just like, oh yeah, nah, let's torture them. Yeah, let's just give them a brutal, agonizing pain so they can just tell us everything. And then he said it himself, where it's like, you do that, now it's like you have angry victims of this torture shit just spewing out a whole bunch of shit, and they're mixing a shit with actual facts. And it's like, damn, like, you want to decipher all of this now? And then when he mentioned the whole, like, oh yeah, like, I was opposed to the whole just torturing thing, and I ended up going to jail for it, because I decided to open my mouth about unethical practice that I think is unethical, and I'm the only one that said no. That's crazy, like actually. And yeah, like this, like CIA going forward, and just like technology going forward, being able to like profile people through like AI and shit. That's crazy too. Like a lot of stuff is like pretty interesting. Like this is a lot of interesting information that he gave us. Like a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, no. Kudos to this guy. I don't know his name, but like clearly he's a very cool person. I enjoyed this video. This video is an hour long. This video, let's go back to the ending. I want to see what he said in the ending.
Speaking tour around England, Scotland. here in the inside. And I know that's how, if there's
Want to find more of your work?
how it's going to be. It's going to come from the inside.
If people want to find more of your work, where can they find you?
My first 7 books were about the CIA. I have several podcasts. I have one called John Kiriaku's Dead Drop. I have one called Deep Focus with John Kiriaku. That's on YouTube. And then I'm starting a nationwide speaking tour. I had a successful speaking tour around England, Scotland, Wales, so we're going to do it here in the States.
The CIA did not respond to a request for comment.
Hi, I'm a producer and authorised account. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe and comment with more topics that you'd like us to cover in this series.
That was cool. I'm not gonna lie, that was cool.